Hi guys, this is Tom Biscardi, the real Bigfoot hunter. I emphasize the word real due to the fact that there's only one guy that can tell you straight up that I've had boots on the ground for the last 50 years. I've done a lot of movies. The one I want to talk to you guys about right now was my first one that brought me to national and international acclaim. It's called Bigfoot Lives. You got to see it if you haven't. The reason why I say that, it won Best Documentary and Best Director at the Pocono Mountains Film Festival. I'm very proud of it. There's some scenery in this documentary that, bar none, you'll find anywhere around the world, because everything that you're going to see in this movie was real. You'll see it as it happened, as it occurred, with real people, no reenactments. And when you look at it, you're going to say to yourself, oh my God, these guys traversed thousands and thousands of miles, interviewed hundreds of people. You wouldn't believe that, but it's true. There's hundreds and thousands of people, possibly just in North America alone, that have had encounters with these creatures. I'm very proud of this movie because we start off in Texas, where we actually put the town of Paris, Texas, on the map, where we had a concentration of a family of Bigfoot. You'll actually see some footage in this of the creatures that we had taken ourselves. One of our team members who had called us into this area, who was actually confronted a Bigfoot, who actually hit him, knocked him down to the ground. And we kind of dedicate our next movie to him because he died, as the reason being that the creature had hit him and he had some brain damage later on and passed away. So we dedicated our next movie to him. His name was Mike Sells. But you need to see this movie because this was the real intro to the cryptid world, the world of Bigfoot. And when you see it, you will blow your mind, because then the series of Bigfoot Lives 2 and 3 came into play. And you'll want to see them also. Until next time, America.
In 1967, my whole life changed. I saw the Roger Patterson film on the Johnny Carson show. And I gotta tell you, that's the day I thought I was gonna challenge the world and go out and find this thing. What we got right now, we're gonna share it with you, the world, the viewers. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting journey for all of you out there to follow us and what we encountered and what we brought back for you guys to see. We went out there to prove one thing. We went out to prove that this creature exists. Yes, Bigfoot lives. and you're going to see it now.
I skateboarded down here a couple of nights and I saw something fly across the road, just right down the road by where the gates are, and it just shoots into the woods. All I do is, it smells really bad, so I just turn around and just run home every time.
We had just discovered 7 tracks. We started hitting the heat seeker, which is a device which picks up, gives a reading to any kind of heat. And we started looking at an area that we were getting a reading off of, and once we had gotten a reading, we started looking at it with the thermal imager and the IR scopes. And what I had seen under the IR scope was something that appeared to stand up real fast and squat back down. Now, there wasn't enough definitive to say, but the reeds were, at the 4.5, 5 feet level in that area, some even taller. So it stood up well above the reeds, came back down.
Everybody thinks that there's only one, Bob, but there's roughly around 3,500 of these creatures nationwide, known by different names. You mentioned one of them, the skunk ape, because of the smell it protrudes down there in Florida. They got the Bushman in Alaska. They got the Moccasin Joe down in Louisiana. They got Uma in California, the Indians call them, over there in Bluff Creek, where Roger Patterson took the first film in 1967. Sasquatch by the other Indians. Bigfoot, obvious reasons, okay? Legend of Boggy Creek, and your neighbor state up there in Arkansas, okay? So there's a lot of different names that this creature's known by.
All I know is it's tall, very, very tall.
The thing about it is people don't realize that these creatures travel in a migrational path, north to south, south to north, especially in weather like this. These creatures do not like hot weather. The reason why you're getting something here is something that migrated through, couldn't take the heat, but they found an abundance of vegetation, abundance of food, water.
Yeah, I think it's Bigfoot because I've heard all these stories about it out here. I never believed it until that day when I saw it the first time. But now I believe it, and I'm scared to come down here every night.
I look at it from a very investigative point of view. That's my job, and that's what I'm out here to do. I feel that there's a lot of evidence pointing that something exists. A lot more evidence than suggests that something doesn't exist.
We're looking at something that's probably over 500 pounds.
Right around the left of this bluff over here is when I had my first encounter. We had showed up, we had found like 12 tracks in the ground. We started tree knocking way up here in the woods first, up on the left. We got something on the heat seeker. Steve Coles started hearing something off to our left about 300 feet into the swamp. Well, being my first time out, I said to myself, well, I'm going to go find somebody playing out in the woods here because I don't believe in it. Well, I started rushing through that swamp, got out to about 150 feet, and I just had to stop and say, guys, is it about 50 feet or am I 11 o'clock? They yelled back, it's about your 11 o'clock. I start to move forward. I take about 3 or 4 steps, and the black shadow that was in the reeds, now, you have to understand, I'm at my knees in water already. These reeds were probably 6 feet tall. There was a black shadow in these reeds, so I thought to myself, well, bear, could be anything, but I'm going to find out. Steve and my dad are going, it's to your left, it's to your left. I said, by 11 o'clock, they agreed with me. So I start to move towards it. This thing stands up. It must have been 2.5 feet taller than me, and then sat back down. At that point, I pulled out my taser and started rushing towards it. Now, I start rushing towards it. It decides that, well, it's going to run away. So I figured I got one opportunity, I'm going to go get after it. As I start to move, I don't know, I was about another 25 feet, I was up to my waist in water. I had to use my hands to continue to go because I couldn't get my legs up out of the water. This creature, this dark shadow, moved through that water faster than a man that I could ever, well, my whole analogy was thinking, okay, if it's a guy in a suit, he's going to bog down, he's not going to be able to make it, and I'm going to jump on him and I'm going to pull off his mask. Well, that didn't happen because I had to stop and this thing kept going. And it was still waist above the water. Its legs were just walking as it was moving off. Its legs were just coming out of the water, back down, coming out of the water, back down. I continued to try to go. Then I got my dad and Steve telling me, come back, because now at this point in time, they couldn't see me anymore. I didn't want to believe it was Bigfoot.
There he is. Straight ahead. Bobby, put your light right out there. He's moving right now. He's moving right now. He's straight out the tree line. He's moving to the right. See him? He's going to the right. He's going into the trees right now. Come here, look. He's over into the right, He's going into the trees right now. You see it? He's went into the trees, son.
I'm Bob Hallmark, and I'm a reporter with ABC Television in Tyler, Longview. It's been my pleasure to be with Tom Biscardi and his team tonight, and I have to admit that I was skeptical when I came out here. I thought we, at this time in our history, had the technology to be able to find one of these things if it existed. But after seeing the footprints and the dig marks in the sand and what I believe to be a very large creature running at a high rate of speed through the woods, I'm convinced I'm going to have to change my opinion on Bigfoot.
There's a bunker there I know of, and I know there's a bunker back here down there at the end.
Okay,
there's a big, huge tree with a set of boots in it down there at the end. There's a bunker right there. I'm going to tell you, your bunkers, when you get that road that goes across the lake, your bunkers is all back up in here. But you're on this side. You're going to be on this side where your bunkers are that I know of.
The poundage, the weight of this thing to make it go that deep.
Oh, yeah.
And bring the color in from the warmth of its body to the different color of, you could see it here. See it here? Versus from the warmth that made it go into the ground because it was moisture. All right?
Right.
This is incredible. This is no piece of plaster. This is no piece of wood.
You tell me that there's no arch in this thing, you bet you can show her in a minute.
Yeah.
That's a nice looking cast.
Yes, there is an arch in there for sure.
Betcha. Right along here, tarsal, and right there's the arch, and this here's the mid-tarsal break right there.
Yep.
See it there? It's called a mid-tarsal break right across there.
Right.
It's like a hinge foot.
By looking at the size of this foot, I'd say that he's a pretty good sized boy.
See that along here, you can see the definition of those toes, and it's, again, there's an arch in there, no, definitely there is.
We're going out to Visa Creek right now. We've been instructed that there are a couple of bunkers apparently out in that area, which we're going to check out. These bunkers is where we believe that these creatures hold up at nighttime or daytime when nobody sees them. Nighttime, this is a complete playground for these things. During the day, they got a place to conceal themselves, to hide, and to feel that they're protected and no one will do any harm to them. This is 2 of 3 last of the bunkers on this side. Visa Creek, outside of Visa Creek. As you can see, this building that they had here, it's kind of dilapidated, but what do you expect after 60 years? The other one has three walls still standing. This is not what we're looking for, although these are some of the remaining buildings that nobody can find. Get a picture of that over there, would you? Over that way. There's a big print.
You got one here.
Going in.
And one right. And then here. Go step over there.
Here's one right here. You can see it real good here. Then it comes right into it's a little wet spot. See the toes?
This way, Dad, towards the water.
Okay. Look at the stride on that puppy.
Yeah, he took a big step.
That is pretty darn big.
I told Tom, there's something paralleling me over here in the bushes, all the way up the road.
We thought it was Tommy walking out this way, but Tommy was still up at that end.
Yeah.
And now we get over here and we see these fresh marks. If you look where they've kicked up the leaf litter, it's still damp underneath.
Did our search with our ground penetrating radar and our white metal detector, right? Ground penetrating radar started giving some funny fluctuations, and we don't feel like digging 30 feet right now, so we're going to come back to the GPS coordinates. Had Don come over, not Don, Mike come over with his with the white metal detector, and he was actually getting the same fluctuations in the area that I had been getting them at.
Our granddaughter called and left a message on the phone that she'd heard there were these prints up in Ball Club.
I've seen all these tracks, and Tom has seen the castings I made, and so far, to me, it looks pretty promising that this is probably a much frequented area.
We went right up there, saw these prints, and there was 100, we measured it was 120 yards, and it was the right and the left foot, but the left foot was in the hard gravel, so you couldn't really see a very deep impression. So we took two different prints that night.
When I saw the actual footprints, I realized they were something special and probably Sasquatch, and I knew that these had to be preserved, so I made some plaster casts.
It showed kind of a trail where he came out of the woods, walked alongside the road for this 120 feet, always the right foot deeper in the loose gravel, and then you could see where it went back in.
This one? He picked this other impression up from the guy in Bina, and it appears that there is a fresh left print walking down the powder of the Class 5 to the same side of the road that these were.
Oh, the other one.
This is the print. It's the largest print ever cast, and it was just cast in Happy Camp, California, last August.
Oh my Lord!
The largest print ever that's been casted.
9.5 inches across.
See these prints here?
Virtually 20 inches long. That's huge. 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch of gravel. I had to scrub off with a little brush and a blowgun to get it out of the to get it off the cast. And all of these prints are right-handed prints, and they're all separate prints. They're up. There was 120 feet of prints.
Bobby Olson, I'm going to teach you something here tonight.
Okay.
And if there's anything around and he's still out there, we'll see him tonight too. Okay, we have hair samples right here on the third center, the center toe here. What we're going to do right now is we're going to boil the Leatherman, which has a tweezer or like pliers, okay, to make sure that there's any impurities out. We're going to use it, take the hair samples, and hopefully they have not been contaminated by human hands. Okay. All right. We'll put them in a baggie, and we'll send them out to get analyzed to find out exactly what they are. These are the only 2 prints that have not been cleaned. Unfortunately, I didn't know about this prior, but these are the 2 that are still in the gravel or sand element that he did take. These are the others that he took, that he cleaned off, and unfortunately all the matter that we're looking for is gone. So these are spoiled. I mean, these are great for conversation pieces and stuff like that, and to show people that, you know, what you guys found out here. Look at the indentation, okay, of the heel. How symmetrically they're all alike, right? Okay. Now I don't know if this is the same print.
It isn't. It's all different. They're all different.
They're all different.
Like this one was more at a tilt, you know, into the ground.
Look at the toe. Okay. See this toe here? This toe here is primarily the same print from here. And what's happened is when it's come down and dug in, okay, it dug in to get the traction and leap off. You understand what I'm saying? And you know why we got a real deal here? I want to tell you why. The hairs are on the sides where the hair of the pad, okay? So what happens is the pieces, some pieces, as he's going down, okay, and coming back up, will get stuck underneath. You got it? And that's what you picked up here. Got it. See it? Can you see that?
Oh boy, that's a good one. That's a good one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Oh boy.
Got it? That's one. I was the one that coined the phrase, Linda, migratory animal or creature. Nobody ever claimed it or put a nomenclature on it that it was a nocturnal creature, but myself, back in the early 70s, and prior to me, my partner, Ivan Marks, because these creatures fed and traveled primarily at night under the cover of darkness, okay? And I was the one that says that they travel a migratory trail or route, north to south, south to north. In the months of April through the end of June is when they actually come out of their hibernation period. I come up with the story that they kind of hibernate like bears, but they don't. And then when they do, they go on to their migratory trail. During your 20-year tenure, did you ever, at any point in time, run across anything like this?
No, I never did.
Never.
That's what I was surprised that these guys found these tracks and showed them to me. Because they were right in front of my truck. We were picking morel mushrooms.
Right.
They said, look at these tracks. And I thought they must be bear tracks. And they said, no, they're not bear tracks. So we don't know what they are.
A lot of them take up residency. The older ones, okay, that don't want to travel no more or can't because they may be disabled for one reason or another. Or the old age, you know, let's face it, okay, sets in, and they find serenity and peace at a place that they've got all the vegetation and water, everything they need to eat and drink and what have you. The only thing that they'll never understand is the thing that'll give them away will be their footprints that they leave behind.
Whole story. I went for a four-wheeler ride back in the woods. I seen these tracks, very suspicious. I found them in 3 different places. Came back, got my neighbor, told him to bring his digital camera. I want to show you something. Went back, showed them to him, and we went from there. We took pictures, measurements, etc. Told a couple other people. For example, Dave and his wife Linda were back mushroom picking. We talked to them, showed them to them.
We were hunting for morel mushrooms, and these 2 guys came and said, look at these tracks. So I looked at the tracks, and I'd never seen anything quite like them. They were man-type tracks with very defined toes, and you could see the arch. It was a perfect footprint. The interesting part was that they had a 60-inch stride, 5 feet, and the tracks were 15 inches long and 7 inches wide.
This spring I found different things. I found a clump of hair once. Never thought nothing of it, but never kept it.
I don't think they were manufactured. Something made them. Just from the depth in the mud, the size of them, everything else, they just were too realistic to be somebody manufacturing them. my feeling.
We think that something lived there at least for a little while, because there was older tracks and these brand new tracks. And we got some plaster cast or some poor ones, but you could still see that the toes were well defined.
It could be real, because there's a lot of country out there that if you want to avoid sightings of anybody, you can still do it. I know I could possibly do it. And there's a lot of country out there that is, what do you want to say? And nobody bothers. And up there on the north end of the Leech Lake, where I used to trap and stuff up on there, there's a lot of ground up there that nobody bothers.
It's pretty interesting, whatever it is.
Then the prints started on this side of the road. Right here is a supposed area of something's been going back and forth in through here a lot.
We got something that ran through here. It ran through here first, saw that it got plugged, came through here, stepped on the log, was heavy enough to step on a log and break it.
Right here, see the toe area? Right there.
Why would the thing, whatever it may be, walk this side and see exactly to a T?
A perfect straight line.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Why?
don't know. I don't know.
Answer that question.
It was just like this. So you tell me. Toes, pad, heel.
Now this one's coming the other way.
This one's coming this way, and it's I believe it to be a left foot. That was not there. That's more recent. There's the big toe. There's the pad and the heel right here.
On the sides.
There's a log smash too, where you can see something stepped on the log.
How long have you guys been researching this elusive creature, this myth, this legend, Bigfoot?
About 8 years. Carrying.
Yeah, roughly 8 years.
8 years and continuing on.
Together we have, yeah.
Over the course of 8 years together researching, what do you figure was the best encounter that you guys experienced jointly?
Well, in my opinion, is the one up here in the field we got. We didn't get pictures of it, but like I was telling you earlier, there was one come out on the edge of the woods here about 25 feet or so, and we was up here doing our yelling and everything, and they was up there answering back, and I guess they sent one to check us out or something. I don't know. I can't explain that, but I believe if it had stood up on its legs and everything, standing straight up like we do, it had been at least 7.5, maybe 8 feet tall, and he wasn't like really huge, no, for as huge goes. He
wasn't aggressive at all.
More or less a skinny one, like, you know what I'm saying? Because some of them are skinnier than others, and some of them bigger than others.
What you people experienced for that 25 minutes, that's an experience of a lifetime.
Yes, it is.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, like I said earlier, we didn't know that was going to happen. We walked right past the thing. That's how stupid we was. We walked right past it. We didn't see it.
The thing about it is you did see something.
And it's an adrenaline rush, man. It's an adrenaline rush that you can't get over, and you'd have to experience it.
I'm out here in this field shooting with my video camera this direction and picked up that white one over here in this corner area.
There's families of them out here, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how many families of them, but they travel like as high as 30 and 40 in a group sometimes, and it's usually like male, 6 or 8 females and maybe a male, you know, or some babies, that sort of thing.
We call
over here is what we named Pine Grove. Wayne and I have been, we sat over there for, camped over there probably 4 months, 5 months. We just come on right in through here with my 4x4 we used to have, go back up there and set camp, leave food for the creatures to eat.
One time I'm Charlie Force, so in July of 1999, I got a rock through at me about the size of a baseball, come through the air, about 3 inches from my head.
Back in 1996, I was at what we call Mushroom Hill on Road 8 in Shawnee Forest. I'm up there picking mushrooms during the spring. I felt something in my head, my ears, and my hair just curled on the back of my neck, and I turned around, looked down the hill, and there stood one, a solid black. I looked down, and I turned back and looked back up. As I turned back down again, looked, it was gone.
They just don't go around hurting people to be done, but if they got reasons, they're gonna harm you. You know, you mess with their babies or something.
What's going to happen next? When you're here, you don't know. I'm standing in this spot, right in this area. I have been standing here after dark, and hear them hooting, the owls are hooting, and all of a sudden you hear a monkey sound. You shove your camera straight up in the air. I shoved my video camera straight up in the air and tried to record it. But it seemed like it's right on top of you. But darn it, there's sounds that come carry for clear over this way, or they'll carry from a distance back this way. And it seems like it's close to you when you hear it, but when your camera picks it up, it's a little farther away than it should be.
People try to say it's a myth and stuff like that, and folklore and that sort of thing, but Bigfoot is real. Sasquatch is just as real as you and me are, or anybody here, you know, any human being. Sasquatch and Bigfoot, they're just as real as anyone or anything.
Is this the area where you had your encounter?
The area where I had my encounter was right back over there.
Okay.
At the base of the dam. We got off of work, been waiting for having a real nice evening out, and ready to go fish. All we wanted to do was go fish.
Okay.
And usually when I went out, everybody was armed. This time the only one armed was me. And it seemed like we were in for a good night of catching some big catfish.
Okay.
So I was laying back on the rocks, and it was kind of like an easy chair that I found in the rock formation. So I was laying back and looking up at the sky. Had a big full moon that was coming over the dam, and all of a sudden it got dark. And I thought, what? This is full moon, no clouds. So I look up over the top of my head, and there, frozen like a tree, is a female Bigfoot.
I noticed that you get worked up.
Yeah.
When you talk about this. Are
Yes.
you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay.
I have to come back out here and face it, you know. But after I saw her, I just kind of looked at myself and I said, yeah, right, that's all I need, a big frickin' Bigfoot, you know. And then my senses came to me, and I said, oh my God, and I jumped and I warned the others. I said, hey, we got a Bigfoot. And they're, what, Bigfoot? And they were like, yeah, right, and I said, no, I'm not kidding. And I grabbed my little rifle. I had a 410 topper, and she disappeared, went down behind the trees behind us and down into the gully. And my friend Daryl comes running back into camp, scared, white. Evidently he had run right into her. And he's screaming, what is it, what is it, what is it? And I'm like, Daryl, calm down. Keep your composure. Now this was 2:30 in the morning. And then you get back in that holler, you don't come out till daybreak. And we kept looking around, searching around, trying to find if it was still there in the area. And before I knew it, in the pond in front of me, off to my left, a pond that was about 25 yards across, stood this big, huge male. And this thing had shoulders about 4 and 4.5 feet wide, and no neck. And in the light of the lantern, all you could see was 2 red eyes. And you could make out his form, and we could tell it was not human, but it was not a gorilla. And this water that he was standing in came up to his waist, but on me, it came up to here. I'd been in that water many times. And he just stood there, wouldn't move. And next thing we noticed, a youngling that was gray popped up on our exit trail, which was the only way out of the area. And he was just going like this, back and forth, just like daring us, come on out here to me, you know. But I told him, I said, no, you stay here, stay close. We had flames shooting up 8.5 feet high. It didn't stop that creature. As soon as that lantern went out, it charged me. I was dumping shells as fast as I could over its head. I didn't want to shoot it because I wasn't sure what it was, but it wouldn't stop. It would not stop.
And what happened?
Then I drew my rifle down and I shot right for its chest area. And evidently I hit it because it grabbed its side and it looked at me for a moment and stopped dead in its tracks. After that, we heard it crash through the tree line and it screamed, a god-awful scream. And to this day, I don't know if I just wounded it or if I killed it. But from what I've been finding out lately, at that time, it was my only choice. I had 4 people depending on me. I had to get them out of there. I was the one that brought them there. And thank God I did. Thank God I did.
The word hand, I don't like it, but it is a hand in visual of something. What exactly it is, I don't know. We were a long time, for 3 years, investigating what it might be. We went to radiologists, to taxidermists, to everybody interested in crypto, doctors of all kinds, and zoos, museums, up and down the coast of Washington, Oregon, even in California. And no names were put onto it, but everybody was starkly aware it was very unusual and controversial. So finally we got a hold of Tom Biscardi, and the origination of the hand is still obscure. It was given to the police force in Butte, Montana, and they tried as hard as they could to identify what it was, and finally I conferred with them and we went together into the project, and I was given permission to take it on the road, and the hand was supposedly, as I understand it, given to them anonymously by someone who found it or whatever in a landfill.
Don Monroe called me, asked me if I could x-ray a hand. Now, him being an outdoorsman, I figured he'd maybe injured his hand, so I said, sure, I can x-ray a hand. Well, he brings me a hand, then packed on ice, a severed hand, the hand of unknown origin.
It's possible that landfill may still have landfill evidence.
I have not been able to find
anything that looks exactly like it. It's human-like, but it's not human.
I just know this very, very unusual. It has indications of a possible something other than a bear. The bear we use because so many people use the word. I really can't say what it is. I don't believe it's a primate, as we know them. And for reasons of the charts I've studied, the anatomy I've studied, and what I've tried to do over 3 years' time prior to Tom Biscardi taking with him on the road. And I don't think it's anything we can really put our name on it yet. And that makes it more exciting to me than ever. As long as it's not identified, it makes it more exciting than ever for me. I don't know what it is. I'd like to find out. I really would. That's why I'm doing this. I want to find out what this is.
The bones in this portion of the hand are very, very thicker and much denser than in the human hand. In the human hand, the our first digit, our thumb, is the thickest metacarpal bone. But in this hand of unknown origin, definitely it's the 5th digit. And so just the pattern of the hand is, you know, a little arc our joints create on digits 2 through 4. But here it just looks quite a bit different, the way the shape of the hand. Also, the fingers have all been severed right near the tips of the fingers have all been severed, and the proximal interphalangeal joints are V-shaped. That's that joint here. And that V-shaped densities are something I haven't been V-shaped joint spaces are something I haven't been able to find on other animals that I've looked at. I have x-rayed a bear, the paw of a bear that came in, and it shared again similar characteristics like it did with the human hand, but it wasn't human. And it wasn't a bear. So that gave me more intrigue, and I knew further DNA testing needed to be done. Another thing too, the thumb has been ripped off right here at the metacarpal phalangeal joint right there, so all we see is the saddle joint left behind on the hand of unknown origin. Well, a saddle joint enables us to be able to have an opposable thumb. But again, our bone is thickest here, but on the hand of unknown origin, the thumb bone, or the first digit, is the thinnest. You know, what that means, I don't know. Also, in the joints across here, you can see, this is the metacarpal phalangeal joint. In the distal head of the metacarpal bones, you can see densities. They're round, and they're right in the heads of the bones, and there's 2 per bone, and those densities just mean that it's thicker. It's more white. So these densities are kind of pearl white. Some of them are round shaped, some are oval. Those densities are something that I've never seen either in another animal that I've, you know, X-ray that I've looked at. I've looked at sun bears. I've looked at panda bears, and of course I had a black bear paw that was brought into my office to X-ray in the midst of all this.
I had no luck before with people being honest with me. They just were obscure in their statements in things similar to, oh my gosh, or it's incredible, or unidentifiable, or in some cases they'd say it's a bear, probably. They'd say it might be a hominoid thing, if it's possible to have such a thing on the earth today, and who knows? Well, people suspect. They'd say the word Bigfoot. I don't like the word Bigfoot.
The x-rays, again, are similar, but I just have not been able to say, yeah, it's that. So that's why I was glad when they said they were going to do DNA testing. DNA testing could help us rule all this out.
There's relic hominoids, relic meaning ancient, hominoid being human-like. Very definitely I believe so. And the reason I believe this has nothing to do with this hand. It's separate in my own investigations. The hand would be more evidence if it could be brought forth that way, absolutely would be. But the hand is not the evidence I look at to be my conclusion. I have conclusions separately that they do exist. So yes, his hand could be something like that. And if it is, it's just more frosting on the cake.
I can say without a doubt, in my opinion, but that it's not a human, but it is human-like. I would tell you that it doesn't look as though it's a bear or an orangutan or a great ape, a gorilla. So yes, I do think it's human-like, but it's not human. And again, the hand is in rigor mortis, so it sits a little bit like that. Okay, so people have to realize that the fingers would be longer, and that's another thing that intrigued me. That the fingers would probably be about 30% longer, if those joints hadn't been snipped off. And alarmingly, though, the precision with which they were snipped off also intrigued me. Somebody definitely wanted to get those off of there. Why? I do not venture to guess. But in my, I didn't believe in Bigfoot then, but now from what I've read, what I've studied, I do think that there could be other species out there that we're not aware of. Call it Bigfoot, call it what you want. But if that hand belongs to a creature that's roaming North America, I would say that creature is very human-like.
Let's hope we find out someday. In the meantime, I'm excited.
I'm up here at the Fort Apache Indian Reservation, the White Mountain Apache tribe here in Arizona. We were contacted by the Tribal Council to come up here. For the first time in 25 years, they want to go public with their story. They've been having a lot of incidents and encounters of something hairy that walks upright like a man, walks on two, that's been coming down, knocking on the doors, looking in people's windows. They called myself and my team, and we're here now to come out and investigate what's going on.
It's like 2:30 in the morning, and we couldn't sleep. We sleep with our window open, and I kept smelling something like when you step on a stink bug, and it kept getting stronger and stronger. And I said, "Darling, just shut the window." And he opened the curtain, ah! And I went, ah! And he goes, "Call the cops, call the cops."
The call came in for a prowler at the Loopy residence in Diamond Creek. I cleared from there and I headed up this way on 73. And the call came back again, said the person was hairy. He had a hairy face and was looking through a bedroom window.
The police officer pulled up on the front, and that's when my darling opened the front door. I was walking down the hallway, and he seen that big figure just walking right there. And he yelled, and then, man, it was just scary.
My headlights hit a creature right between those two pine trees. And it was really tall, and you could see its hands went up when the lights hit it. It looked like it grabbed its head and it kind of ducked down. And then Lieutenant Billy Kahn came and pulled in back in this area, and his lights hit it. And then I got off my unit, came out to the front. That's when we heard this big, huge crash in the fence. And we walked over there. The fence was damaged, and the dogs were barking down towards the east, towards that canyon back in there.
The lady officer was over here with the flashlight, pointed at it, and then these other two police officers came up and asked if we was okay and stuff, and then they followed it. They tried to follow it.
I smelled like a stink bug. It smelled like a stink bug. And when my lights hit the creature, all I saw was it was hairy, and around its eyes was lighter than the rest of its face. That's the only thing I focused on. And then I saw the hands go up, and it was long. So from here to here it was long.
Man, I don't know how to explain it, but I tell you, it's just something else to see, you know.
People from the valley who are here, summer vacation or summer fishing, camping, they were here. We got a call that they saw something big and looked like a giant gorilla.
they called our dispatcher, our police department, and our police unit, which responded. But we got a hold of the game and the fish, so we called off our unit back, and we sent the game and fish over there. By the time that they got there, they didn't found anything. But the next day, they went back over there. This is what they found. They called us in. They called me and my partner in. So we went to the scene. This is what they found, and this is what I took photos of it. There's the people that were visiting our reservation, camping, fishing, that they saw a large person that looks like a giant or large ape gorilla. So we have our unit respond, and we try to get a hold of tribal game and fish. But we have to call back our unit because we have traffic down here, so we have our tribal game warden respond. So when they got there, the creature was gone already. The next day, they went back, we collected them, we took them up, picked them up, and this is how it came back. These are the hair that I collected from A to D. And some hair comes back as a synthetic fiber, and the last one, they come back as non-human origin or animal origin.
The Arizona Department of Public Safety. The hairs in item D are all of non-human or animal origin. Interesting. Here it comes one more time.
One of our office ladies, they want to compare with their feet. No match with their size. And this is the largest, let's say, probably, I'll say the largest reservation shoes. Around to a kid, you know, that size 15 shoes or 16 shoes. We like to continue to search or to study these things because it is out there in our backyard that we don't know about, you know, these things here now. It used to be out in the wooded area, but now they're coming out in the open.
Well, I've been doing these fields, brush hogging these fields, there's 60 acres here, for about 2 weeks. And then I got to this section here and I wanted to preserve some of the trees, so I called a tree guy and I said, is there any chance that you might be interested in buying the trees or taking them? And he said yes. So I brought my camera out and parked the vehicle where you see it and walked about 200 feet towards that side. I left the rig here and I walked out there. Walked out to that tree. Okay. And that's when I saw
when you turned,
I saw this thing standing behind this thing.
This way, and that's where it pivoted. But when it pivoted, it went which way? That way?
And then back over, and it went behind this tree, and I couldn't see it, and I guess it went into the woods there.
And how far did you go in?
I didn't go in.
You said that you went.
Well, later on, I walked it, but at that time, I stayed away.
It's something that I could totally believe that it's there, and I could totally believe that it's something figmented. It's not, you know, it's something that's been staged. So either way, I could believe it.
When I turned, I saw this thing standing by my gator, and I took a picture. And it turned to my left. It looked confused, you know, it just looked kind of funny. And then it turned back to the right. And I took another picture, so I actually took 3 pictures, and it ran behind those group of bushes that were right behind me. And that's all I saw him. He was gone.
I live down the street. I saw the news. I've been telling everybody. Nobody believes me. The pictures, they say, look fake. So my friend and I decided we were going to find the guys that were going to find Bigfoot.
From ground to the top here is what, 5 feet?
5.5 feet maybe.
Okay, 5.5 feet. And this creature's head
Was above it.
was above it. But were you parked exactly here?
Right there.
Right here, okay? Because now it's a low spot. You understand what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
All right, see me?
Yeah.
I'm low now.
Yeah.
You got it? So, was this creature, all right, standing where we don't know, because we have to take each picture individually and take a look and look for the height where it went down.
All I know is I've never heard of anything like that in this area of New York before. But on the other hand, this is a very, very, very good environment for the creature to survive. Something like that could survive out here very easily without even being detected.
Here now, I'm on a mound. Okay? I'm higher than the rig. Before it was lower. Got it? All right. So now that was my problem. When the creature turned, it pivoted, it went this way, correct? Right here. And went from here, turned again, and went behind the tree. Is that correct? Right? And this is the area it went. And it went into this area here? Okay.
Well, I was far enough away not to be afraid, because I didn't, you know, when you see something big like that, you figure, well, maybe it'll come charging. But the reaction that it had was like it was afraid, that it moved away quickly. Now, it might have been attracted to my gator because there were a bunch of carrots in the back of the gator, which I was taking to our horse farm.
I honestly didn't believe it as much as it really is true. Like, I just saw footprints and handprints and in your face, really.
I think Tom Biscardi and his crew are very professional and that they know what they're doing. Certainly they have enough experience. I can see that right now. I think they're very dedicated to come out here out of one eyewitness and the history of Clarence, one eyewitness supposedly seeing a Bigfoot. I've seen the photographs.
That's awesome.
All I say is I'm not fully convinced of it, but we'll see. I mean, we're here and it's the first night, and you never can tell. We have found bedding spots. Where there's one, there's another.
It's hard to explain how it moved. It didn't move like a person, and then it didn't move like a bear. It was different the way it moved, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know. And if it's an elaborate hoax that somebody's playing on me, let me tell you something. Somebody went through one hell of a lot of trouble to do it, because this is so remote out here. To get back there, the only way they can get back there is through the front, by the front road. And that would be very difficult. And they had to have been back there before I came out. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it was a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot or a bear or whatever. Whatever it is, I don't know. The experts should be able to take my pictures and, maybe somehow scrutinize them to see if they can figure out what it was. So I wasn't going to do anything with the pictures. I was just going to drop it because somebody would think I was nuts, because, I'm president of the Farm Bureau and my credibility is important. But my daughter sent them to the news. She emailed them to the news. She said, they should see this.
Becky, you going in this side here. I want you going in this way, okay?
You want me to go
out and around towards this way in here. Timmy, I want you back out that way where the tree is. Mm-hmm. Work your way back in. I'm going to go in dead center. Okay. All right?
Yeah. Looking for broken down brush. We're looking for tracks. We're looking for any type of trees broke off.
Hans?
What I'm looking for now is any type of bedding sequence. We're looking for their food, which looks like there's a plentiful source of their food sources around here. We're looking for bedding places, bed down, where they might sleep. Say under a tree or something where the grass has been turned down like this and other grass stacked on top of it to make kind of a bedding for them to sleep on.
Something's laid here, all right? See the bent over grass and it's older?
Yeah.
All right? This is where it's been. Now, you said it went behind this tree, is that correct? So this is the area it went. Okay?
Yeah.
Something was here.
A lot of times, if it's not straight, if it's a barbed wire, some of the hair from the Bigfoot gets caught in there. And we're looking for those two hair samples as well.
Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right here. This is unbelievable. Something's laid down in here. Look how it's brought it over. Put a glow stick hanging from right here. Okay. All right. Make sure you put some sardines. All right. Hanging right about here. For the smell. Okay. We'll get anything that comes across the trail this way.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I want another camera from back in that angle.
Okay.
Coming this way.
All right.
Because it's very apparent what's coming out. It's coming out to the thicket this way here. And
Yes.
it's coming out underneath. Okay.
Yes.
So he feels secure in this area here. All right. So we'll have one this way.
Yep.
We'll have this one coming in this way here. Okay. This thing came, and as you can see, rolled down in this thing to have a softness underneath its body. And what happens, it did what down here. Okay. So we've got something here. We know how big it is. It's pretty big. What it is, we don't know until we find out here and get this out. All right, so I want 2 cameras put up in here.
All right.
Hear that? Did you hear that? You hear that, son of a bitch? Now look here, man. How can we get out of this fence? Get over here. Straight ahead of me. Towards the ground. About 6 feet up. We got something. And it's dashing right now. Go to the right. Go to the right. It's over here. Look at that baby move. Hear that? He's moved away. You could... Yep. Yep. It's out of focus completely. It went from here to here and went back as quicker than hell, man. I couldn't believe how fast this thing's moving.
January 1st, we came out here, and we were on the lake playing. Tony Ray and Lil Bruce was playing on the lake, and Tony was walked over to that old beaver house, and she was walking along the edge, right over there in that mud there. She said, "Dad, come here, look, there's a big foot track." So I went over there, and we looked at the foot track, and it was a huge foot track. And the next morning we got up, and we came about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we took a picture, took some Polaroids of the foot tracks, and we had them, we showed them to the Glacier Reporter. But before that, we called Fish and Game, and they came out and they checked the tracks. And when he was looking at them, I asked him if they were bear tracks, and he said no, they definitely weren't. He couldn't explain what they were. He didn't know what they were. Well, it just kind of went on from there, and then the reporter got a hold of it and put it in a newspaper with a little story. And after that, that's when you got a hold of the story and came up and checked it out.
And this is the actual footprint that you casted out in the ice.
Yeah.
Right? And the bottom layer, which was the dirt, that's the reason why the color here, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. Did you ever measure it out, by the way?
It's 18 by 9 3/4.
And look at the definition of the toes. It shows 5 toes. It looks somewhat of an arch area up in here. Wow. Incredible.
I didn't believe it until Tom came and explained what was going on. I didn't know nothing about it. Didn't believe it. Didn't want to. But now I guess it's common.
They all think that Bigfoot just comes out in the summertime, okay? And here yours was in the snow and ice, okay? Which is just proves to the world that, first of all, there's not just one of these creatures like everybody thinks there are. Like, we come up with the calculation of about 3,500 across the nation. And it exists no matter if it's summertime, wintertime, spring or fall. It's out there.
Yeah.
And it's migrating, traveling, and showing up wherever you can think. Since we've left the last time, how many people have called you and shared their stories with you, Bruce?
Well, about 30 accounts of actual tracks and actual sightings. The way we believe is there's no luck involved. It's a blessing. There's no luck. And as far as spiritual, you couldn't end up with a track in the mud if it was a spirit.
Correct, yeah. So this was a physical manifestation.
Actual.
Yes, real deal. Yeah. Well, Bruce, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and hopefully by people like you, we can have more stories like this and come to an end of this and show the world that, hey, this thing is really out there and he's here for a good reason, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing with us, you and your family.
It was about this was July, August, September, October when our dog brought up those remains, and it had to be from a smaller, whatever it was, creature.
Our dog brought this first piece of a foot with the leg up to the hip. When it had the entrails with it, that one, and that was taken by the Fish and Game. And when they left, our dog went down by the river somewhere and brought the other foot up. And that's the one we had. We kept, and we took pictures of it. We took a video of it, and it was down south of here in that direction towards the river.
And I said, it's not a bear. I said, this thing is walking upright. I said, just like a man. I said, the only thing, it's hairy, but it's walking just like a man into the brush. brought this part of the body first,
And the rib cage.
The rib cage.
And part of the backbone.
Some intestines,
and
too.
some intestines that were still stuck to the backbone. And then the leg. It brought the leg that came all the way up to the hip.
Well, the other one was with the leg too. The other leg. Then when she called the
Fish and Wildlife,
they came and they took it.
And
then,
both of them couldn't identify it. Neither of the Fish and Wildlife officers couldn't identify it, so they said they were going to take it to town and get their supervisor to look at it.
We had it in our freezer for a while, but we finally took it out of there, and just north of here a little ways, about maybe 30, 40 feet, somewhere in there, I dug a hole and I put the leg and I wrapped it up in plastic and I put it in there. And we tried to locate it, but we couldn't find it. Either an animal dug it up and took it, or it's still there in the ground someplace and we just haven't been able to locate it.
What really amazed me was it had
web feeding?
Yeah, toenails like ours.
Yes.
You know, it never had claws. It didn't have no claws. And if you put it like this, looked like a human's nails, fingernails, or toenails.
Did you see that there was still meat on it, and you could still see the hair? Okay. Did any of the people take it for analysis to analyze the hair samples, do DNA?
And I took some down to the College of Great Falls, and they never knew what it was. So I don't know if they still have it.
They couldn't identify.
They couldn't identify it, and
in the article they said they were going to identify it and put it on the next month's newspaper.
But they never did.
But they never did because they could never identify.
There's nothing on record. That's the reason why they couldn't.
We really don't know. We've had it taken to Great Falls, and they tried to analyze some of the hair and what was on her, but they still was unable to identify what it was.
Everybody thinks it's an easy process, but it's not. We just went through this process with the hand. I went through 5 genetics DNA companies. 4 of them wouldn't touch it because of the controversial matter. The 5th we were lucky to. The first preliminary report came through, and it says it's not a human, not any known primate or a bear on record. So what they're actually saying is there's nothing that they can equate it to, just like they did with the foot and the leg.
It was really something, and I'll never forget what I saw the rest of my life.
My big question is this: is it a new species that we don't know about?
Oh, look at that! Ain't no fever.
Let me.
The neighbor.
Get out of the road.
Boy, you're videoing it.
There's its knee right there.
Yeah,
and then up there by his hand.
Oh, you little guys, stand away.
Wait, you guys, don't get in the way.
Christian, don't bump your
Up there by his hand is the hip joint, hip socket. There's the knee, and then there's the ankle part. That's the foot. That's the heel right back there. Oh, what happened to it? Oh, there it is.
It's a beaver. How big is his sack?
What about Little Ben's foot? How far forward can that go? How far forward can that knee go?
Oh, very well.
Oh, yeah.
Right here.
Look out, Little Ben.
Stand back. Christian, stand back.
Watch this, Christian. Watch. Watch this, Christian.
Good, I can do that too. See? Upright.
Oh, Dad, the first time I saw it, I thought it was
That's what it looks like.
See all the star parts ripped off.
Yeah, it's toenails.
Brown hair, kind of brownish, reddish hair.
Here.
double root sticking out?
Yeah.
That's a genetic throwback to Homo erectus.
Is that right?
Yeah. And then the extra thick jaw, that's also Homo erectus. Heels would have been right in there. And your skull would have been right back here. It's too big for an Indian. It's not Asian.
Looks like we got something dating back somewhere in the vicinity of 500 BC. Don't know exactly what it is right now, but we take a jawbone and a vertebrae and some teeth. We're going to get it analyzed to find out exactly what we might have here. Tommy's down there brushing it down there to see the possibilities, but it looks like somewhere in the vicinity 7 feet and over. For something that's over 2,500 years old, it's a pretty significant find as far as I'm concerned. All right. So we'll get it analyzed and find out exactly what it's all about. The hip is 4 feet.
4 feet.
Oh, you got a rib cage?
Add another 3 feet for the body legs. That's your 7 feet.
Yeah. So over 7 feet.
Over 7 feet. Just trying out my new night vision camera. I decided to go in the woods, see what was moving around. Well, I could hear a noise, something moving beside me, so I kind of squatted down. And then I heard this big growling sound. Of course, I started to get nervous, got up, backed into a cedar tree. The next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground. Felt like a linebacker hitting you in the cheek with a shoulder pad. Well, the first thought's a wild hog. And then I thought, that don't sound like no wild hog. That's when I started looking around, backing up in the cedars. I kept moving the camera, trying to pick up on something besides the trees there. I never could get an image, and still heard motion in the dead leaves on the ground. So I was trying to kind of corner around the tree and get away from it, especially after thinking it was a wild hog. It was in the tree and I backed into its front. So when it came out, almost instantly, its shoulder was about the height of my cheek, which is about a little under 6 feet to my cheekbone there, maybe 5'11". So his shoulder height was 5'11", somewhere in that neighborhood. If he was standing up, he may have been crouched down and come out like that too. It's hard to tell. I'd always heard about the smell, you smell this musky odor. And when I landed on the ground, I was kind of thinking, this ain't no human being. It's got to be something else.
You're the ones that have to say, hey, either it's out there or it isn't. All we're doing is bringing it to you as we've seen it. Now it's up to you. You either believe or you don't.